For the longest time, the following has been true. Germany fights USA and USSR, USA fights Germany and Japan, but USSR only fights Germany and Japan only fights USA. Now that Manchuria has been introduced, the Soviets and Japanese finally fight a second nation each other. This means that from a balanced perspective, there's a very good chance for Soviet and Japanese gear to be lopsided in terms of strength. This was true because of how we saw even fight USSR versus Japan play out. The SVT-38 versus the Type 4 rifle, the PPSH-41 box versus the Type 100 late, the Su-6 versus the B-7 bombers. Yeah, frankly, it was just very, very unbalanced. And while this may create some worry for the introduction of Manchuria, let's break down why Manchuria getting added is actually really important for Enlisted. First thing of note, more decent maps for Japan, because Pacific maps, they suck. I think the most obvious problem with the maps is the water barriers and the small bridges that are required to cross them. The maps are just super restricted. Like if we think of Gavutu Airport, if you have two bridges and on each side of them is a single bomb, I mean, good luck. As long as the enemy team is just paying attention, you're not crossing those bridges, you're not making any ground. It's brutal. The maps are also known for huge sight lines for tank HE spam or anti-tank gun HE spam, because if you think of Alligator Creek, you know, the first objective on the beach, once you capture that, there's a giant hill behind it and you can be shelling the second and third objectives with a tank from that far away, and only a plane can really take them out. And the final thing, this is again mostly an Alligator Creek thing, is just the verticality of the map, because anyone that knows the Normandy Beach battle, if you're having to fight uphill, it is difficult to achieve. And Alligator Creek, you have to fight uphill most of the time. So it just makes it that much more unbalanced. So what's the second thing that really matters about Manchuria? The matchmaking parity. Anyone that's seen me talk about this in the last couple of days has seen me post like comments talking about matchmaking parity, which is like what does that mean, right? Well, it's simple, because if you look at it from someone who is grinding a nation, a single tree, if you have to fight the same nation all the time, it gets pretty boring. So having map environment variety means that things are a bit more interesting. If you just hate fighting Germany, for example, use USSR, it's more going to be like 50-50 or maybe 60-40 that you'll fight Japan as well, which again just changes things up. And I think it'd be intellectually dishonest to say that, you know, people don't like certain teams or certain nations because of, like, I don't know, national pride or other factors. But generally speaking, I think this has the potential to really improve the general population of these different nations. Like, we all know Japan is the lowest population in the matchmaker at all times. I think this would really help boost it up. And that means that you have lower matchmaking times for any of your games. And ideally, it means your games will be less one-sided. Like, you're not either going to be on the team that gets absolutely destroyed, or you're capturing all 5 objectives within 8 minutes. So all in all, that could be huge for the game. Now, for the third thing, weapon and equipment balance, which, you know, I touched on at the beginning of the video, but this will mean that there's a lot more direct force on what is actually balanced and what isn't. Because if we look again at even fight USSR versus Japan, I can say without a doubt in my mind, the whole reason for that event was so they could test out how much disparity there was in the equipment between the two nations. And I think it's pretty safe to say it's quite a bit. Now, fortunately, Japan's gotten a couple of buffs since that. And before we knew this information, I mean, you know, it was just cool to see them getting buffs, but there's a bit more context to it now because we know for sure Manchuria is coming. And we could even see even more balance changes in this update as well. I think the most slept on part of this whole thing is, you know, body armor for USSR. Well, I don't know. It's not slept on. I'm seeing people talk about it now in the forums and on Reddit. And it's funny to see some people on Reddit who are like, oh, it isn't even a big deal, you know? And to me, it's like, if it's not a big deal, why do you care about being nerfed? If people are asking for body armor to get nerfed, but that's besides the point. I believe that obviously they've introduced Manchuria, but if the devs did the right thing, then we're going to see a bunch of little minute changes in this update as well that just make it even more balanced for both of those nations. Because for the longest time, weapon and equipment balance in Enlisted was more of like a line that went from USSR, Germany, USA, Japan. So USSR and Japan were the furthest apart. They were the furthest from any sort of scrutiny. Whereas, I don't know, I think it's safe to say that like USA and Germany, they, for the most part, are relatively balanced because they have to be compared to two different nations, right? And with this becoming a full circle sort of thing, we can see that, well, we all know that USSR is very, very strong now, with the main exception being like mid-BR MGs like DP27 DPM. They're pretty underpowered, I believe, and could use some sort of buff. But they're very strong, and Japan is, well, BR3 is really good because of the matchmaking that it gets, but aside from BR3, I mean, Japan kind of struggles. Like, it's the only nation without a 15.3 damage select fire rifle. They don't have a proper assault rifle. They don't have good attacker planes. They don't have good semi-auto rifles, so on and so forth. And with these changes that might happen with the update to help balance, I don't think they'll get it right the first time, even if they do add those. So there's a good chance that Manchuria might be a little difficult to play at first, but ultimately I can only see this being a good thing for everyone in the game because of all the things I mentioned. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I think I'm going to continue this kind of format a bit more. It's faster to get these out while I work on the longer form content that takes a lot of edits. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this. I'm going to be doing this not just for Enlisted, but the other games I'm enjoying playing too. So yeah, expect more of these, and hopefully a little bit more frequently than the other stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching. And let me know what you're most excited for with this Manchuria update, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. Catch you all next time.